Good evening, Mr.
Hi,
Alaka.
Idris.
Hello,
How's everyone
everyone.
doing?
Diana
Fantastic.
Perugino.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Awesome. Nice. Who's ready for today's call?
Hey, we're
I
on.
am.
We're on.
We're
All right,
here.
all right. Okay. Well, no problem. All right, so let's just give it a few minutes. Can you guys hear any background noise on my side?
You're muffled a little.
You're a little muffled, Idris.
Okay, so yeah, I'll try to speak up. I'm at a networking event, and it literally just started. So we'll be doing it this way here. But you know, we always come prepared. So we're gonna make it happen no matter what. But I appreciate everyone jumping on. Let's give it a few more minutes for everyone to plug in. As people still have a few people jumping in. All right. All right. Once again, can you guys hear me clearly? Do I sound any better this way? Head nod, thumbs up, something.
Yes, we
All
can
right,
hear you
perfect.
clearly.
Yes.
Perfect. So yes, I know last week or the last time I was on, we did the different perspectives of the solar deal, and hopefully, you know, you guys got some value from that. This week is about having emotional intelligence, and I know that may sound like it's something that may not be important for a solar deal, but it's important in so many aspects of the deal. Before the deal, as you're booking appointments, if you're outside knocking doors, generating leads that way, and or dealing with family, friends, neighbors, things of that nature, all of these things require emotional intelligence. And you know, as some of you guys have seen me in consultations before, you may think that I may come across as indifferent. I don't want to say I don't care, but a little bit indifferent. And the reason why is because you can't be too high or too low, right? Emotionally. If you come into a situation too high or too low, believe it or not, your client is reading that from you and they're feeding off of your energy. I'm not sure if anyone was on the call earlier, hearing from Mr. JT Rangel, right? And he basically said, you know, once again, you have to be in control and assertive with the client, right? But you don't want to give them any emotion where you feel like you need the deal, you have to have the deal, because they literally will use that against you, right? And it happens all of the time, right? So every time I'm dealing with the client, there's a level of indifference. But let's just start off this way. And obviously, just due to the nature of the situation tonight, this call would be a little bit expedited, right? But I definitely want to always still give value. So let's talk about booking the appointment. And once again, this is whether you are knocking doors, calling leads, calling family and friends. It does not matter, right? And I'm explaining things this way because obviously this has been my experience with some people on the team, but even before that as well, right? And as there's a two-part to a solar consultation, obviously there's a part from the mentee in most cases, and then there's a part from the mentor who actually closes the deal. As the mentee, first and foremost, you want to set the right expectations about who you are and the role you play. Here is why this is so very important. And I'll say this again, right? Setting the right expectation about who you are and the role you play. Now, why is this so important? If you tell your client, for instance, right, I'm using this as an example, that you own and operate a solar company, right, as an example, and then when we have the appointment, you kind of like send them, your client off to the mentor, right? then sometimes the client could say, hey, well, if you own the company and this is what you do and you're the specialist, then why are you sending me off to somebody else? Right. Now, I mention this because this literally just happened recently where I had a client and literally because they were sent over to me, the client felt some type of way from the mentee because the expectations weren't set appropriately, right? So however you want to word it of the role that you play, whether you're I don't even like saying the word I'm in training. That might be the case, right? But you don't want to literally just send the client off. It's a partnership, right? So as you bring the client to the situation, then it's a partnership between yourself and the mentor as we both close the deal together. If the client doesn't know and realize that you're part of the deal or you're just sitting in and you don't really play a role, then once again, the trust may not really be there as much to close the deal from the expert unless you do the right edification and the right introduction, right? So once again, first thing is just setting the right expectations. Sometimes, and the reason why this is a part of the emotional intelligence is because sometimes some people will come into the deal and they will, they'll once again they'll be on the phone, they'll beat their chest, they'll speak to a homeowner, whether at an event or wherever it may be, and they'll just say things that don't really set the expectations right for the actual consultation, right? So once again, just want to specify that. In addition to that, while booking the appointment, you want to have posture, obviously, right? We hear that a lot. So you want to have posture and let the client know. Here's how I think about it when I'm ever speaking to a homeowner, right? I have what they want, not the other way around, right? So solar is helping homeowners literally every single day save on their electricity bill, right? We are what they want, right? So we have to have the posture of that. If your client thinks that you have commission breath, right, you're needy, then they won't want to do business with you. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard this before that, people don't like to work with needy people, right? Have you guys heard that before ever? Of course, right? So you want to have the posture of, listen, this is what I do, right? Whether you do it full time or on the side, right? This is what I do, and this is what I can bring to the table for you. And you don't want your posture to go overboard, and you don't want to get cocky or anything like that. But you just want to stand firm with knowing that you have what they want, and you're in a position to help them, not the other way around. All right. Now, reason why I say this is because again, I've had a few has asked for help, right? And they come from a position of, hey, I just want you to help me, right? I want you to see this, and you know that's not really from a position of posture. Now I know the system when you first get started, there's a script that asks you to reach out to your to your closest family and friends for help. Once again, if you're just getting started, that's one thing. But if you've been around for a bit, you have to kind of move from asking from help to you being in a position to help the client, if that makes sense, right? Because if you ask for help, it's not a position of posture, and then literally the client will not take the appointment serious. If the appointment is not taken serious, chances are you may not even have the appointment, right? And now it becomes a waste of time for everybody, right? So keeping that posture is important. We talked about indifference. So when speaking to a client, I already know human nature and how some people will sign up today and then want to cancel tomorrow for all types of different reasons. So my attitude throughout the whole process is indifferent, right? Once again, I don't want to be too high or too low. If they decide to move forward, great. If they decide not to move forward, great. Don't want to be pushy, don't want to be overly aggressive, but you don't also want to be passive, right? So I'm saying this is because this is all information that can be used in the booking of the appointment process, right? In addition to that, right? Now, as indifferent as things may be, you also want to have a sense of being assertive, right? So in this process, we need to lead people. We can't have people lead us. So for instance, when it comes down to booking an appointment, if you guys have ever heard me book an appointment, even a follow-up appointment when we're on this deal, I'll always give the client two options, right? Which one works better for you, weekdays or weekends? If they say weekends, okay, perfect. Which one is best, Saturday or Sunday? If they say Sunday, great. Which one's best for you, afternoons or morning? If they say mornings, okay, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, right? I'm kind of like funneling them down to a specific time. I'm leading them, but I'm also giving them the choice. The reason why is if you don't lead your client to the specific outcome that you're looking for, then they'll lead you to nowhere, which is following up forever, not booking up an appointment, kicking the ball down the road, and literally never, ever, ever getting anything done. Does that make sense? All right, all right, all right. So this is once again just some you know how to how the right mindset or just how to kind of emotionally deal with the situation before actually booking the appointment. Yes, Miss Wen. Manager.
So can you repeat what you said about demonstrating indifference?
Hmm. So I always have indifference in every single deal that I do because I never want the client to think that I'm needy of the deal. So that is a great question that you asked. It brings up another point. So when you go and when we all go into an appointment, the client, it doesn't matter whether they're friend, family, stranger, doesn't matter. They are thinking that you're about to sell them something. So their walls are all the way up, right? So most salespeople, what they do when they get on the phone or when they get on the Zoom with the client, they're once again they're in sales mode, right? So they get very aggressive, right? And they're trying to push the deal forward, right? You probably all experienced salespeople, right? And you know how that goes. So instead of giving them that reaction that they're expecting, just come into the situation indifferent. They may go forward, they may not go forward, right? Obviously, that's a personal decision. That's one. As some of you have also experienced, and I'm gonna get to this, but just because a deal closes doesn't mean it's gonna get installed, right? So you can't be too excited too quick because if you show that excitement and you kind of get all beside yourself, then once again, there's so many things that can change the process of the deal actually getting installed, right? So you want to have indifference throughout the whole process. I remember having this conversation with Thomas, right? We talked about numbers, right? And I'm saying in sales in general, right? The most important thing is going through the numbers. If you knew that out of 10 deals, only, I don't know, six of them were going to move forward, right? Then in order to close or to have 10 install, you may have to close 20. Is that math right? Yeah, to have 10 install, you might have to close about 20, right? Or maybe a little bit more. But my point is, you want to know and understand the ratio so you don't, once again, you're not coming to the table with permission breath, if that makes sense. Carla, did that answer your question at all?
You did. Thank you very much for that clarity in terms of demonstrating indifference. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. So that's all before the appointment. Obviously, as you guys are, booking appointments, and sometimes it gets a little complicated dealing with family, friends, neighbors, even cold market people as well. But those are just some of the tips and aspects that I had from as you're booking the appointments. Now, after the deal is closed, right? As I just mentioned, just because the deal is closed does not mean, right, that it's gonna get installed, right? So the deal closing is just the front end of the process. Does that make sense? Do you guys hear any background noise at all?
Here a little bit, but
Okay.
and just a little bit. Sounds a little muffled.
Okay, sorry
Yeah,
about that. Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's not distracting for me, but a little muffled, but not bad.
And I apologize, guys. I'm out here trying to do as much as I can, moving around. I'm trying to move and shake and get things done. So I apologize for the, for anything, but let's continue here. So once again, just because a deal closes doesn't mean it's gonna get installed. So you want to know that up front, right? And be clear of that, right? Also, after the deal closes, right? Now this is key, right? You don't want to test your brilliance with the client. And here's exactly what I mean by that. Obviously, in build, as you guys know, there's so much training that goes on every single day. There's so many things that you can learn and pick up on and know this and know that and this, that, and the third. You don't want to share all of this with all of the clients because sometimes you may not know what makes sense for them or when, or like you may not know all of the specifics and you don't know what you could say that could backfire on you, for lack of better words. Right? And I say this because this still happens to me. Right? So, it's not something that's just, special for some people. It still happens to me. Right? And sometimes I realize that speaking less sometimes actually works better. Right? In some situations. So you just want to keep that in mind. And any questions that the client has, right? I would say you want to leave. Now, I say once again, don't test your brilliance out on the client because any question that they have should be led back to the mentor, right? You don't want to be the person who is answering all of the questions because here's what's that, and it's not because you don't know, and it's not because you might know the answer, but here's what I'll tell you: when you answer the first question, it's going to bring on another question. And when you answer the second question, it's going to bring on the third question. And it's gonna bring on question after question after question after question, and then it's a downhill spiral out from there. Trust me. Right? So you don't want to show there you're because sometimes clients will kind of do that on purpose, right? So yeah, these are some of the just some yeah, it's the big bad rabbit hole for sure, right? So these were some of the tips that I had as far as just being emotionally intelligent about the deal. Once again, the biggest tip I would say is, once again, being different, keep your posture, right? And literally come to the table with a sense of help, trying to help the clients, right? I do my best to help educate the client to the best of their ability so they know and understand exactly what they have. I want to take all sense of this being a sales pitch out, and I want to make it more about an educational process because I truthfully believe if a homeowner understands solar and how it works, then it doesn't need to be sold, right? It just really needs to be explained. And I believe that most human beings are smart enough that if they see something that makes sense, then they'll make the best decision for themselves and their household, whether that is yes or no, right? They'll do that for themselves, right? Does that make sense? Awesome. Awesome. So, with that being said, once again, I don't want to take up too much time of everyone's night, but yeah, I just want to, see if there's any questions or thoughts from anyone has. Any thoughts or
Well,
questions at all? Yes,
yeah,
sir.
so, hey, Idris, man, first of all, thank you, for doing this on Monday nights. And I know you're busy over there at an event right now, which is, awesome that you do both of these things. We appreciate that, but this subject right here is just very apropos because being emotionally sophisticated and being humble throughout the process and being a servant throughout the process is because it's a process, man. I mean, yeah, I know all of us probably went through it already once, but it's a process of all of what you said tonight, man. Like you could say one thing and the deal just goes to the left. You know what I mean? If you don't say the right, or if you start bragging after you won about the commission you get and the client hears about that, that you toast, man. You know what I mean? So I see these people posting, "Hey, I just got so much money on this deal," and I'm like, man, you better not let the client see that.
Mm.
So, it's a great topic here. It really is, man. And I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate it because being in the sales arena, I don't care what you in, you got to have your hat in your hand constantly, man. You can't go celebrate anything even after it's signed. So, thanks, man. I appreciate your time tonight.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that as well. And you brought up another point that I wanted to touch on as well, and that's the commissioner side of things, right? When you show and talk and brag about commissions, as you said, before they actually come into your bank account, or even whether they do or not, it's just not a good situation, right? Obviously, in solar, you can make a good income, and that's great, right? But I never want to be in a position where I'm showing the client how much was made or anything like that off of a transaction, right? Because once again, it's not really like, it's not tasteful in my opinion, right? Once again, I'm there to help them, not to show them how much was made so I don't want them to even hear that. So absolutely, I definitely appreciate you sharing that as well, and thank you for the compliment as well. Any other questions or thoughts or concerns about anything that we want to talk about today?
Yeah, Eaters, I have a question, or it might be more of a statement. I know that when I'm talking to people, like, just to give you an example, had a funeral that I went to on Saturday, and one of my best friends, he rode with me there. It was about 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and we got a chance to talk a whole lot about a lot of things. We've been friends since we was 3 years old, so we talked about everything, but we talked about solar. And even in that conversation, what I'm saying, I shared some things about solar, and I asked him a lot of questions. He told me his bill was about 300 a month, and average. And I was doing a lot of fact finding because I've mentioned it to him before, but I was doing fact finding. But I did talk some about what I knew about solar and me going solar, why I went solar, what my bill is now, what my bill was, and what it is now. And I did a lot of asking questions and talking to him, so much to the point that afterwards I asked him to get me a bill. So he's going to be getting me a bill in a couple, I think tonight or tomorrow. But when you say, when people have questions, are you saying that after the consultation is done and if they have questions, refer them back to the mentor? But what if you're in a situation like I was in yesterday where we were just talking about, solar? Is it good
Mm.
to share some things like your personal experience with you going solar and how it benefited you?
Yeah, so absolutely. If you have already gone solar in this situation and there's some specific details that you know based on your own solar system, I would say share, but also share with caution because this is something that I've also seen in my experience. One homeowner shared with another homeowner, right? But the information that the first homeowner is sharing with the second one is actually not accurate, right? Or it's accurate for their house, but it may not be accurate for the next client's house, right?
Yeah.
So that person, as an example, who you were speaking with, as an example, right, could possibly lead with an understanding of solar that may not fit their situation. So let me give you an example, right? And this is why I preference it the way I do. Let's say you have a, as an example, let me use a real life situation. You have a finance for your system, right? You also have a pretty big system, right? Let's say the homeowner. Now, let's say you guys are talking, and I'm just using this as an example once again, but you're talking and they ask, well, how much does your solar system cost?
He asked
And
me
you
that.
say,
He did ask me that.
and you say 45, 46,000, right? But then they don't necessarily need a finance, they need a lease, right? But they're now already thinking that their system is going to cost 45,000. So before they even have a consultation, they've already checked out because they don't have the money to put towards that, or they're thinking that they're going to have to put a down payment, or they're just thinking all of these things that aren't the case before having the consultation. And this is why I would say always lead those questions to a mentor so they can answer them directly. Right? When a homeowner asks me, and trust me, it happens today. When I'm booking an appointment and someone asks me how much does it cost, I don't tell them because there's nothing for me to tell them because I don't know what option we're even going with yet. Even if I
Yeah.
did know, I wouldn't tell them. Right?
Yeah.
I had a consultation the other day where, it was a homeowner and they were like, you know what? You don't have to show me all of this stuff. I'm already sold on solar. Just get down to the numbers. And I told him, listen, we can do that, but if I did that, I would be discounting you and you wouldn't even understand what you would be paying for. Right. And I threw the ball back in his court and I asked him, do you still want me to show you the numbers or do you want to have the consultation? Because I thought that's why we were here. Right. So he said, okay, yeah, you know what? I do want to have the consultation. And then we had it. Right. And then towards the end of the situation, once again, his understanding, because here's another thing. He said, listen, I want solar and I want a battery. Now, as some of you may have already heard me say, sometimes when you add the battery, obviously it increases the price. So I always like to show the homeowner what the cost of the system is without it and then add it on afterwards so they can see the difference. And now they make the decision what makes sense for them. If I would have showed him the cost of the system and the battery all up front, then it would have blew him out of the water from the jump, right? So once again, it's kind of like you have to control the situation. This is what I meant when I said have posture and also be assertive, right? He's on the phone with me because we are sharing the information on how we can benefit him, right? And how we have the service that he needs, not the other way around. So if I didn't have posture and I just would have said, you know what, let me just show you the price, I would have showed him the price and he would have said, oh wow, this is way too much. And he would have not wanted to move things forward. So yeah, to answer your question, Thomas, I would just be a little careful about answering too much. Um, because as I always say, if you answer all of the questions for your prospects, then they may feel that they don't need a consultation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if
And I
they
tell you what, he did ask me the price of it, and I told him, I said, man, everybody's different. Every
Mhm.
home is different. I said, what I pay for mine, you may not pay for yours. I said, and we have to see your usage over a year and do the analysis, and that's what the consultation is for, because it's personally designed for you and your wife's home. So that's how I kind of answered it. But thank you, Idris. I appreciate this, man. I appreciate this. Yep. Because
Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
we go solar and we're saving money, we get kind of excited. You know what I'm saying? We get excited and we wanna tell everybody.
Absolutely.
Well, put it
Absolutely.
this way. Put it this way. I want to tell everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate this training tonight.
For sure. We should tell everybody, right? But the goal is just to lead them to a consultation. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns at all before we on the call? Are we all good? All right, I think we are all good. So I definitely appreciate everyone jumping on for tonight's call. Hopefully I've added more value to everyone and just a better understanding of, how to operate, booking the appointments and also after the consultation is done, after the door closes. Just the mindset and, how to kind of like emotionally or how to have emotional intelligence throughout the whole process of a solar transaction. So appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for jumping on and look forward to speaking and seeing you guys all later on tonight.
Have a good networking event, man. Meet a lot
Thank
of
you
people.
so- Thank
Hey,
you so
thank you,
much.
Idris.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your
No
time,
problem.
Idris. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Bye, everybody.
No problem. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.
All right.